Hey folks, it's been a while, hasn't it? Put out a little short clip the other day of some guns that I had been shooting, and but today I'm going to get back into it, and I'm going to be reviewing the Staccato CS. Now there's some misconceptions on the CS, and I'm going to kind of point those out today and bring them to light. But the Staccato CS, what is it? It is a staccato. It is considered their, I guess you could say, subcompact. If the C2 is a compact, then the CS would be a subcompact. It's got a 3.5-inch barrel and slide accordingly. It is optics cut. All of them come optics cut. It has a different grip. I hesitate on saying smaller grip. Parts of it are smaller. Parts of it are not smaller, and I'll touch on that here in a little bit. But it is their entrance into a subcompact 2011 style gun. They redesigned the magazines. They're quite a bit smaller. If you'll know, original STI staccatos, all 2011s, were designed around the 45 ACP and the 38 Super, which have a much longer overall length than the 9mm. So they kind of had to adapt their magazines to fit the 9mm cartridge. Basically what they did, they took a 38 Super magazine, they put a polymer sleeve in the back that kind of push the rounds forward, which is common in 1911 style magazines, but they did that for the 2011, and they took 45 magazine and made it run 9mm out of it. Now, in the beginning, the magazines for the 9mm 2011s weren't very reliable at all. You used to have to tune them. You could buy 10 magazines and probably 3 of them would work, and you would have to tune the rest of them. Since STI changed their name to Staccato, they re-engineered the magazines twice. They have a Gen 2 magazine, which they're great. And then there's a Gen 3 magazine that'll be a G3 on the back of the mag body there. But since they've redesigned those magazines, I have never had a problem with a Staccato mag. They've all run flawlessly. A lot of people prefer MBX mags or the Atlas mags. I can tell you, since Staccato redesigned their magazines, never had a single problem out of them, ever. So I run pretty much exclusively Staccato magazines. But anyway, this little magazine right here holds 16 rounds, plus 1 in the pipe, which gives you a 17-round capacity, which is pretty good for a small gun like this. Now, there's good and bad about this gun. I took it out to the range. I'm going to roll in some range footage here, and then I am going to come back and tell you what I think about this little staccato. Bill drill, I'm going to start slow. Really slow. 316. A little faster. 207. Not bad. At work, I always train shooting from a thigh rig, and going back to shooting from a hip holster kind of slowing me down, is having to get my draw down right. But trying to retrain myself on a hip holster, 207 at 7 yards, it's not that bad. We'll try it a few more times. "25 yards on the target on the left." So as you can see on the range footage, the little gun shoots. Man, it's quick. There is recoil. There's more recoil than the C2 or the P, definitely more than the XC. But this little gun shoots. It comes back on target quick. Even though it's a snappy gun, it comes right back on target quick, and that helps you be even faster with it. As you can see, I was training with a hip-worn holster, an outside the waistband holster worn on the hip. Usually when I shoot, I'm training out of a thigh rig because that's what I wear at work. That's what I wear. I'm on one of the specialized teams there at work, and that's what I wear in the specialized capacity as well. So I usually train solely out of thigh rig, but since this is a carry gun, I wanted to draw it from a hip worn holster and kind of see how it did. The gun did great. I was a little rusty on it. I need to practice on my speed from a hip-worn holster. But overall, I ran 300 rounds through this gun. It ran 100%, no malfunctions at all. I ran that Palmetto State Armory ammo. What's it called? American Ammunition Company. Palmetto State builds it. It ran 100%, 115 grain. Also ran some 124 plus P through it. Ran great, no problems. I also ran my carry ammo through it. Ran 100%, no problems. So this gun never got sluggish. It never chugged. It ran just as strong at the end as it did at the beginning. The only thing that I can see, it's got a 2 recoil spring setup inside. The initial part of the spring on the way back is a little light. And if you're not careful when you slingshot it, if you just do this with it, a lot of times that round won't feed all the way. You really got to slingshot it to make it feed that first round, or you could just use the slide stop like I normally do, and that provided enough energy to get it home. The good about the gun, the gun is, it's a little race car. Man, it is fast. For a gun this size, it's a little bit smaller than a Glock 19 in some ways, and it's a little bit bigger than a Glock 19 in some ways. The grip is bigger than a Glock 19. Don't let anybody tell you it's not, and I'll show you here in a minute. The slide's thinner, the slide's shorter, the slide length is, or the grip length is about the same size as a Glock 19. I have a Glock 45 here to try to show you as a comparison. But if you'll look, the 45's grip length is a little bit longer, which would mean you cut it down to a 19 and the grip length is going to be about the same. It holds one more round than a Glock 19. That's always a good thing, right? The things that I don't like about the gun. I was under the impression when the gun came out that it was going to be smaller in every dimension. It's not. So you're going to hear a lot of people talk about the grip it's been slimmed down. It's smaller than the stock Staccato, and they're partially right. From here down and from here to here, it is smaller than the Staccato, standard Staccato. But from here up, it's the exact same size. How do I know that? Well, you know, it's wearing a short trigger, right? I took the standard trigger out because I like to run a short trigger and an EGW thumb safety on all my guns. Well, the frame itself is the same thickness. So I knew pretty much I was going to be able to run this thumb safety. Thumb safety fit, functions perfectly, no problems with the thumb safety. Then I wondered, will a standard Staccato trigger fit this gun? So I had a standard Staccato trigger laying around. This is the standard, comes out of, this probably came out of one of my C2s. And I measured it front to back with my calipers. It was the exact same length as the factory trigger that came out of the gun. I don't see it laying around here, but the factory trigger and the full-size Staccato trigger were the exact same length. So I measured the width. The width was exactly the same. So just to see if it would fit, I dropped this standard Staccato trigger in it, and it fit perfectly. So then I bought a short trigger from Dawson Precision, And as you can see, it does fit. It works. There is no hiccups in it. And this is what I was using at the range. So the interior dimensions, side to side and front to back, are exactly the same as a standard Staccato. So if you think you're going to get this gun and have a little bit smaller grip, as far as from the beaver tail to the trigger, you're not. It's the same length. And I was hoping that it was going to be smaller because I have smaller hands, and I would prefer it to be smaller from the back of the beaver tail to the center of the trigger, but it's not. Little disappointed there. So all your factory Staccato internals are going to work on this gun, every single one of them. The sear, the disconnect, the hammer, the thumb safety, the triggers, all of them work. The only thing that's not backwards compatible is the magazine. Don't really know why they did that, other than it's maybe a cost-saving measure, but I think they would have really had a home run if they had redesigned it to where it's shorter from here to here. That way, people with smaller hands and thinner from here to here, if they had shrunk that down in size. They did down here. When you feel the grip, you can tell it steps down right here. So there down, it's thinner. From here up, it's thicker. I can put my calipers on it and show you for a fact that it is thicker up here. It says it is 1.255 up there. Down here at the bottom, it's 1.190. So it's about, what, 1,000th thinner? No, 100th thinner. So while it doesn't seem like a lot, if they had carried this up, it would have made a big difference. It's not a lot, but it would have made a big difference. But in doing that, they would have had to redesign the trigger bow. And as far as I can see, that's the only thing they would have had to redesign is the trigger itself. So if they had just done that, they could have run a proprietary trigger and all the other internals would have worked. Not sure why they didn't do that, but I was a little disappointed in that. Where does this gun fall in in comparison to the C2? Where does it come in at? If you're wanting a gun that's lighter than the C2, this is definitely lighter. If you're wanting a gun that has a shorter barrel, this is definitely shorter. It's roughly a 1/2 inch shorter. If you're wanting one that's going to be easier to conceal, I don't know that this is really going to be any easier to conceal than the C2. The grip's basically the same length. They're still using the officer spring that they use in the C2 and the C. And the thickness doesn't really amount to enough to make a difference. I'm just being honest here. Do I like the gun? Yeah, I love this little gun. It's a rock star, man. It runs great. It's fast for the size it is. 100% reliable, accurate, very accurate little gun. Cool looking little gun. Love the barrel design up there. The milling they did on the barrel. Don't really know that has any bearing on reliability or anything, but it looks cool. But if I had a C2 and I thought, it's just a little too big for me to carry, I'm going to sell it and get the CS, I don't think you would find much of a difference there. It wouldn't really be worth it. Now, if you don't have either one and you're just looking for a carry gun, I'd say jump on the CS. It's a great little gun. Just a little disappointed in some of the things that they had the opportunity to change, but they didn't change. I'm not criticizing the gun as a whole. I like the gun. It's a great gun. It's a Staccato. It runs great. It's a factory-built production gun, but it's built to a high standards. That's what Staccato's built their reputation on. But it is not what they led us to believe it is. They led us to believe it's totally re-engineered. It's smaller in every way, and really up here in the area that matters the most with your hand, it's not smaller. From the beaver tail to the center of the trigger bow, it's not smaller. So if you can run a C2 just fine and it's just fine for you, I wouldn't go out and sell the C2 in order to get the CS unless you just want it. If you don't have either one, like I said, sure, jump on the CS. Make a great carry gun. I'm actually going to carry it. I'll probably put me a Holosun 507K on here. I've already got a plate for it and everything. The only thing is these magazines, you ain't going to be able to buy them for a while. I use the, what do they call it? It's like the blue line. You get a discount if you're in law enforcement or military. And I use that, and they were supposed to come with 6 mags, but instead it only came with 3. And when I called Staccato, they said they're only sending 3 with them because they are back ordered on guns, and they are also back ordered on mags. Don't expect mags to be available anytime soon is what they told me. So towards the end of the year, you might be able to buy spare mags, but for right now, you get 3 with the gun, and that's all you're going to get. So that's kind of a downside. But only time will tell if people bite on this. The texture on the gun's really good. Didn't have to do anything to it. The trigger on the gun, of course, I did a trigger job on it. I did a trigger job on all of mine. I took this one down to about 2.5 pounds, I think it is. Maybe it's 2 3/4, which is perfect for me. They did redesign the beaver tail. On the beaver tail on most Staccatos, it has a cutout right there on either side. It kind of helps you get a little bit higher with that thumb. This one's rounded like a standard 1911 beaver tail, and it's also abbreviated. So as far as the quality, the fit, finish, the function of the gun, man, it's solid. As far as the advertisement of the gun, I think they were a little misleading. Yes, the grip's smaller down here. No, the grip is not smaller up here. No, the grip is not smaller here, but it's smaller down here. So they were a little misleading, and I kind of wish they had just taken the time to totally redesign it. If you're already running proprietary mags, what's a proprietary trigger? I mean, really, that's just my thought. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the little CS. I like it. If y'all like the review, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, and y'all have a good one.